Zabalaza. Amandla. Awethu. Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Duma Nokwe. Long live. Long live the undying spirit of Duma Nokwe. Long live. Long live the undying spirit of the Secretary General of the ANC. Long live. Amandla. Pilonde veterans, the ANC Pilonde. Pata ANC Pata. Kokela ANC Kokela. Pata Ramaphosa Pata. Kokela Matamela Kokela. Zoitola kanjani? Uhlele kone. Watinta wafazi. Uzakufa finish and clear. Raw young lions, raw. Thank you very much, Comrade Program Director, Comrade Snuki Zigalala, the President of our Veterans League, the Secretary General of the Veterans League, Mayor Ilva McKay, the Deputy President of the Veterans League, Comrade Mavuso Msimang, and all members of the Veterans League of the ANC present here today. Duma and Vuiswa Nokwe family, to izizukulwana nabantwana baka Comrade Duma Nokwe present here today. We had the privilege through the program director to see them and for them to stand before this important gathering here today. Our veteran stalwart, member of the NEC, Umama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. A Duma Nokwe group of advocates represented here by Advocate Sileka, Regional Chairperson of the ANC in Sedibeng, Comrade Tulani Kunen, the Regional Secretary of the ANC, Jason, here in Sedibeng. And all members of the Regional Executive Committee of Sedibeng, which is our host here today. Comrades of Sedibeng, I want to say to you, in front of the comrades who are here, and those who are watching us from home through the means of the media, this region of Eguruleni, of Sedibeng, this region of Sedibeng, in the history of our movement, they've done something symbolic and very important in the preservation of the heritage of our liberation struggle. These comrades met with all the structures and the REC led from the front to claim the legacy of Comrade Duma Nokwe. This region went to Lusaka with the family of Duma Nokwe. They came to Lutuli House. They gave us their project that they want to name their office after Advocate, the former Secretary General, Comrade Duma Nokwe. And they were granted permission to do so, and they built an office, and they named that office after Comrade Duma Nokwe. They went further and said that part of the project include a book. That's why you saw Tamika Plaki there explaining, because he was the one who's doing the research on the book, and as well as the family also and other comrades have been gathering material to produce, I'm sure, not only one book, but many books about the life and times of Comrade Duma Nokwe. We will ask for family permission, because when they came to Luthuli House to brief us about this project, at Sol Plaatje boardroom at 6th floor, where we resolve difficult things. Nabandaba protester gave PGM but resolve up by 6th floor. But Sedibeng arrived with a project. They were there, all of them, REC. And then led by the chairperson, the secretary was there, and all of them. And they said, from here, SG, we are going to Lusaka, which they did. And they've been working closely with the family. So I'm trying to say to you, comrades, as we do this lecture leading to the reburial, this region have taken it upon itself to claim, educate, and preserve the heritage of our liberation struggle, and never forget. They do that because, comrades, our struggle is about memory against forgetting. So we must never forget where we come from. Here in your region, here in Sedibeng, here in South Africa, an advocate was born in our country. And he came from this region. So I want to celebrate you, comrades, because most of the time when we talk about the work our structures are doing, we talk in negative terms. But when they are doing well, your good work must rub off to others throughout the country. That in Sedibeng, we had a leadership once upon a time that took it upon themselves not to wait for head office or National Executive Committee to do this important work. And for that, comrades, on behalf of our organization and National Executive Committee, we salute you. Comrades, we are gathered here today to honor a giant of our revolution, a titan of South Africa's liberation struggle, the former Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Duma Nokwe. We are here to pay a lasting tribute to a mentor of the people's liberation struggle, to bid the final farewell to a giant on whose shoulders we stand in order to get a vantage perspective of the path we have to traverse to attain our freedom, or traversed, and the treacherous path that lies ahead. This we do as we advance the national democratic revolution to realize a democratic society where a better life for all is a lived reality. Born on 13 May 1927 in Everton, Advocate Duma Nokwe emerged as a symbol of intellectual brilliance, unyielding courage, and a visionary leadership. His life tragically cut short in exile in 1978. Jason, the secretary of this region, says when Comrade Duma Nokwe passed on, That's the year he was born. And then secondly, when he passed on, that's when we witnessed a massacre in this region. Offers profound, his life tragically cut short in exile in 1978, offers profound lessons for a world still grappling with injustice. As we reflect, comrades, on his legacy, let us not merely recount history, but ignite a flame of inspiration for future generations. Dumalisile means thunder on a cloudless day. And true to his name, Nokwe became an exemplary leader, an intellectual, during difficult period within the country and for the movement. He played an integral part in the resistance against the apartheid government and dedicated his life to ensure our constitutional rights and freedoms that he did not live to enjoy. Comrade Duma Nokwe was an only child who grew up in a working class environment. His father, Truebridge Nzima Nokwe, was a shoemaker. His primary education was at the local missionary school in Everton. The Nokwe family migrated to Orlando around the early 40s. He matriculated at St. Peter's Secondary School in Rosettenville in 1943. Among his teachers were Oliver Tambo, Lancelot Guma, and Father Trevor Huddleston. As a student, he was top of his class in mathematics and science, but also interested in politics, joining the Young Communist League and matriculated in 1946. His fellow students included Joe Matthews and Alfred Hutchinson. Comrade Duma Nokwe's academic prowess earned him a scholarship to University of Fort Hare, then known as the South African Native College, in 1947. The cradle of Africa's liberation thinkers. He obtained a BSc degree and a teacher's diploma a year later. It was at Fort Hare where he crossed paths with future leaders like Robert Sobukwe and once again Oliver Tambo, honing his political consciousness. While at Fort Hare, Comrade Duma Nokwe joined the ANC Youth League under the leadership of Godfrey Pije. The Fort Hare ANC Youth League executive included comrades Ntsukunyana Mukhehle, Titi Litlapa, Robert Sobukwe, Ntato Motlana, to name a few. It is also at Fort Hare where he met his future wife, Vuiswa, aka Tiny Malangabe, in 1948. She was also enrolled for a BSc degree. After graduation, Comrade Duma Nokwe took up a teaching post at his alma mater. The same year, he was recruited by Mr. Daniel Mutuba at a newly built Munseville High School in Krugersdorp. Comrade Duma Nokwe served a sentence for entering Germiston location without a permit during the 1952 Defiance campaign. On leaving prison, he was summarily dismissed by the Transvaal Education Department. In the second half of 1953, he accompanied Walter Sisulu, the then Secretary General of the ANC, on a 5-month tour abroad. They visited Britain, the Netherlands, Israel, the Soviet Union, the People's Republic of China, and other socialist centers, including Bucharest in Romania and Warsaw in Poland, where they attended a youth festival and a youth congress, respectively. Some of you, when particularly the youth today talk youth festival, you will think, hey, bebe jaiva la maketla. It was a youth festival of ideas. A youth festival that is still in existence till today. In 1954, he was served with a banning order that restricted him to the magisterial district of Johannesburg. Active in the ANC Youth League from his university days at Fort Hare, he served as ANC Youth League National Secretary from 1953 to 1958. Having been effectively barred from the teaching profession, Comrade Duma Nokwe moved on to study law. When he qualified in 1956 with an LLB degree at Wits University, he became the first black South African to be admitted to the Transvaal Supreme Court, a monumental feat that shattered racial ceilings in the legal profession, but was effectively prevented from practicing his profession by a Native Affairs Department directive. Comrade Duma Nokwe was involved with the ANC's economic boycott in 1959, as well as the planning of an anti-pass campaign for 1959 to 1960. During the traumatic period after the Sharpeville shootings on 21 March 1960, which led to the declaration of a state of emergency by the government on the 30th March the same year, and the banning of the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress, the following month on 8th April, the police detained Comrade Duma Nokwe for 5 months. After his release, he was a convener of the Consultative Conference of African Leaders in Orlando in December 1960. Along with 155 others, including many prominent ANC members, he was arrested in December 1956 and charged for treason in what would later be known as the famous treason trial. The cases against most defendants were dismissed by mid-1959. Comrade Duma Nokwe, however, was one of the 30 whose trial continued under a revised indictment. He was not acquitted until April 1961. In his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, former President Nelson Mandela writes about how the decision was made to use Comrade Duma Nokwe as the only advocate in the treason trial. He reveals how the trialists managed to function without their lawyers for more than 5 months under the state of emergency. Tata Mandela writes, I quote from Long Walk to Freedom, on 26 April, Duma Nokwe, the first African advocate in the Transvaal, rose in court and made the sensational announcement that the accused were instructing defense counsel to withdraw from the case. Myself then said simply, we have no further mandate and we will consequently not trouble your lordships any further. After which the defense team silently filed out of the synagogue. This shocked the 3-judge panel for the next 5 months until the virtual end of the emergency. We conducted our own defense, close quote. George Bezos, Comrade Duma Nokwe's close friend, recounts in his autobiography, Odyssey to Freedom, how Ismail Mohammed joined the Johannesburg bar a few years after Nokwe, and how non-whites were eventually admitted to the society's common room. Comrade Duma Nokwe legal career was a daring act of defiance. As apartheid laws like the Group Areas Act and past laws criminalized black existence, he used the courtroom to confront the regime. He defended activists in landmark trials, including the 1956 treason trial, where Nelson Mandela and others faced death sentences. His sharp intellect and unwavering ethics exposed the moral bankruptcy of apartheid's version of justice. Yet the regime retaliated in 1962. The government disbarred him, stripping his right to practice law, a stark reminder of the cost of resistance. Comrade Duma Nokwe was elected Secretary General of the African National Congress in 1958 at its 46th annual conference held in Durban, and served in that role until the Morogoro Conference in 1969. Morogoro was a watershed conference where the unity of the movement was under threat, but through the resilient leadership of all those who were in attendance, steered the ship towards a revolutionary course. As ANC Secretary General, from 1958 to 1969, Comrade Duma Nokwe transformed the organization into a disciplined militant force. He worked alongside Oliver Tambo and Nelson Mandela, advocating for international solidarity and underground mobilization after the ANC's 1960 ban. His strategic mind was instrumental in launching Umkhonto weSizwe, the armed wing of the African National Congress, signaling a shift from passive resistance to active defiance. Comrade Duma Nokwe's leadership extended beyond politics. He edited Liberation, a journal that articulated anti-apartheid thoughts and nurtured young activists, emphasizing mentorship as key to sustaining movements. As we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, we are reminded of the reflections of Comrade Duma Nokwe on this important document of our movement. In an interview with Gail Gerrard, a journalist and an author, in October 1970 at the ANC office in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Comrade Duma Nokwe had this to say about the Freedom Charter. I quote, "I wouldn't ever be able to find a more brilliant program than the Freedom Charter. Brilliant and militant program than the Freedom Charter. Perhaps this is one reason why the South African government decided to charge us with treason and keep us in the treason trial for 5 years. I doubt if there is any political organization anywhere, even the then unliberated states, which had a more militant outlook than the Freedom Charter, politically, economically, and otherwise." Close quote. In the early 1960s, Comrade Duma Nokwe was repeatedly arrested and charged. His home was raided, and he was placed under house arrest, facing a long imprisonment under the Unlawful Organizations Act for promoting the aims of the banned African National Congress. Comrade Duma Nokwe was directed by the underground leadership to leave the country. He crossed into Botswana in January 1963, together with Moses Kotane. Comrade Duma Nokwe became the ANC's international envoy, mobilizing global support from Zambia, Tanzania, and beyond. His diplomacy secured crucial aid from socialist states and African nations, isolating the apartheid regime. Comrade Duma Nokwe's work in exile in the spheres of diplomacy and propaganda helped to win for the ANC the recognition and respect of the international community. And he was a well-known figure at the meetings of the OAU, Organization for African Unity, and the United Nations, and the many conferences on South Africa called by various anti-apartheid organizations. In exile, he was instrumental in the reorganization of the ANC in exile, focusing on international relations and diplomacy. Yet exile came with a heavy price: separation from his family, constant surveillance, and the trauma of displacement. Though small in nature, in spirit he was a giant, whose political perspective embraced all humanity, and who linked the fight of the ANC with the anti-imperialist struggle throughout the world. Although Comrade Duma Nokwe did not live to see democracy, his contributions laid the groundwork for our freedom. The ANC-led government in the post-apartheid South Africa honored him with the Order of Luthuli. Yet his legacy extends beyond awards. His life exemplifies the power of integrity, intellectual rigor, and relentless commitment. We welcome President Cyril Ramaphosa's timely intervention to ensure that this debarring as an advocate by the apartheid regime is reversed. The President has also posthumously awarded Advocate Duma Nokwe silk status, a feat worthy of celebration and a noble gesture that allows us to lay Advocate Duma Nokwe senior counsel to his final resting place with dignity. We are here, comrades, not just to remember Advocate Senior Counsel Dumalisile Duma Nokwe, but to also utilize his example as a mirror. We too navigate very complex challenges. Despite the fact that the 30-year review report by government will tell of the unprecedented successes in any post-colonial society with regards to social transformation, the ANC had to contend with what we have characterized today as a strategic setback. This setback was driven by a number of factors, both objective and subjective. This includes corruption, poor service delivery, arrogance, social distance, among others. These are things and perceptions that engulfed our daily body politic when we talk about sense of incumbency. It is very easy to be an opposition, but it is difficult to govern. And all these things are facing us today. Like Oliver Tambo forewarned us that wait till you come into government. It will be difficult than to fight an apartheid regime. Radical socio-economic transformation must and will happen in our lifetime. It is our contention, comrades, as the ANC, that the national budget must reflect a growth path that will ensure adequate absorption of the unemployed through economic opportunities for entrepreneurs and expansion of existing businesses. This must not be in theory, but tangible intervention in the various economic sectors. We know the national transformation agenda was always going to face resistance. Let us not make it easy for our opponents by looking inwardly and slaughter ourselves and attack ourselves and destroy ourselves from within. Comrades, let us not make it easy for our enemies to destroy the African National Congress. Let us not celebrate divisions within our organization. Let us preserve unity at all costs. And by unity, I mean unity of purpose. We don't have to make each other favors. But if you listen and you read, you understand who was Duma Nokwe. You understand that history demands of us to succeed. And let this ANC not collapse in our hands. We must hand over the relay. The struggle must continue and continue and continue. till all our people are emancipated. Nelson Mandela says, let freedom reign. Let all our people be liberated. Comrades, the misrepresentation of the Expropriation Act is evidence that the beneficiaries of apartheid will not sleep. Similarly, those who have taken us to courts for advancing employment equity are working overtime to reverse the gains of our freedom. It is clear, comrades, to us as the ANC that the only way to overcome this strategic setback is to win the elections with an outright majority. However, comrades, we must not just win the elections to manage contradictions, but to ensure radical and rapid socio-economic transformation. Our people have said through the ballot that they want radical and accelerated change. As the ANC, we must listen to the masses of our people and not justify the unjustifiable. As much as we did not get over 50%, but our people simply decided to stay at home. They didn't go to any other political party. If they went to other political parties, we'll be having a total new government in the Republic. The ANC is still the largest party in South Africa today. That is why, comrades, with that 40%, we will deepen transformation. We will pass laws that will deepen transformation. Bella Act, NHI, Expropriation Act, and employment equity, and so on and so on and so on. So those who are in court to challenge the laws of transformation, they must gear themselves for a long overhaul, because we are not about to stop. It is in this sense that we believe that Comrade Duma Nokwe give us an opportunity to reflect and to correct ourselves. This self-correction, comrades, is elaborated through the organizational renewal and rebuilding process. We must admit to our mistakes and correct them. Comrade Duma Nokwe lived a short life, passing on at the age of 50. Yet he left behind a big mirror that will forever help those who heed the profound lessons of his lived life to navigate their own challenges with the resilience and fortitude. Comrade Duma Nokwe died in Lusaka on the 12th of January, 1978, where he was also buried. In 2024, the ANC-led government, after a long process of consultations with the family and scientific work by the relevant agencies, exhumated and repatriated the mortal remains to South Africa and will be reburied at the Heroes Acre West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg. Comrade Duma Nokwe's life teaches us that education transcends personal achievement. It is a tool for collective emancipation. Today's task must embrace learning, not just for career success, but as a means to challenge inequality and uplift our communities. The ANC's decade of the cadre is largely celebrated among our cadreship. Every day we see comrades even above 60, others at the age of 60, qualifying as doctors. Comrades, let us uplift ourselves, masifunde, all of us in the organization. The ANC survived throughout the tumultuous periods, such as the treason trial and later the Rivonia trial, because its members presented without measure their talent to the movement, acquired in the academia and in the trenches of struggle. We as the youth and those who are still young must embrace the philosophy of lifelong learning in order to become agents for transformation, who have the necessary capacity to decisively tackle the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Advocate Duma Nokwe resilience underscores that standing for justice often demands personal sacrifice. Today's challenges, characterized by poverty, unemployment, and inequality, require similar bravery. Renewal of the ANC requires cadres able to rise to the occasion in the service of the people. Comrade Duma Nokwe's exile reminds us that our freedom came at a heavy price, with many revolutionaries passing away in exile, away from their families and loved ones. Today's activists must recognize the interconnectedness of global struggles. Freedom and peace and indivisible. They are indivisible. You cannot have freedom and peace in one area and suppress it anywhere else. That is why Madiba declared that our freedom was incomplete until the Palestinians are free. That is why, as the ANC, we continue to declare that South Africa cannot afford to be an island of success in a sea of poverty continentally. Solidarity, both within the country and internationally, was the golden thread of the struggle for freedom and democracy, wherein Advocate Duma Nokwe became the needle that wove this thread through his dedication to our liberation. As we celebrate 70 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter, we must redouble our efforts in making a better life for all a lived reality of our people by giving practical expression to the ideals espoused in this important document of our movement. We have come a long way since the adoption of the Freedom Charter in Kliptown, starting with the incorporation of the Bill of Rights in our democratic constitution, thus laying a solid policy foundation for the realization of the principles and values espoused in the Freedom Charter. Over the past decade, successive national conferences of the ANC have placed the renewal of the ANC as the central question in the execution of the strategy and tactics of the National Democratic Revolution. Renewal of the ANC is principally about building the ANC's resilience, enhancing its transformative and governance capacity, and its ability to adapt to changing situations so that it can continue to serve and lead the people. As our processes to renew and rebuild the organization gain momentum, this remains our guiding principle that enables us to remain focused on what we intend to achieve. In a nutshell, comrades and friends, renewal is not only about restoring the integrity of the ANC, it is also about restoring the integrity and effectiveness of governance. This therefore means that the ANC should govern its affairs well in order to govern South Africa well. We must therefore intervene as much at organizational level as we should at government level to deal with lack of integrity, incompetence, dysfunction, and poor performance wherever these ills manifest themselves. As ANC leaders and deployees, we are mandated to implement the policies of the ANC, to improve the lives and living conditions of the working class, the poor and marginalized in our society. At the same time, we must provide leadership to society as a whole and build a broad coalition of class forces around the implementation of the ANC's agenda. As we approach the local government elections in 2026, we must return to the basics and ensure that the ANC lives among the communities and champions their everyday struggles. We cannot be visitors amongst our people. If we are visitors amongst our people, we will be displaced, like tsunami is coming. But if we are amongst our people will be our biggest defense. As the ANC, we have established a local government intervention unit that seeks to accelerate service delivery in all municipalities. Our people want water, proper roads without potholes, attendance to sewer system, crime prevention, and ultimately economic opportunities. We can win crime if we work with our people. We build social compact with our people. The district development model must achieve rapid economic development in all localities, addressing service delivery challenges, and implementing programs that move the needle in making a better life for all a lived reality is the only way we can honor the legacy of Comrade Duma Nokwe. It is a commitment we make as we pay a lasting tribute to a mentor of the people's liberation struggles. Lala ngoxolo, Gwanini, Sibeu, Malebomvu, Saliwa, kulandela. Amanda ngawethu, Mata, Amanda. Long live the undying spirit of Duma Nokwe, long live. Long live the undying spirit of Duma Nokwe, long live. Long live the African National Congress, long live. Amanda! Pata ANC, pata! Kokela ANC, kokela! Kokela Ramaphosa, kokela! Amanda! Lastly, comrades, I forgot Hope Papu, the coordinator of the PTT. He is doing a great job with his team to reviving the ANC in Gauteng. And I'm not saying this because I'm patronizing you. I can see, and we can all see, that kubhizi eGauteng. Kushubile kuyasetyenzwa. So maqabane, abantu abanequgu mabalinde sizabathola second round. We must build our structures, and we must exorcise the wrong out of the ANC. If it means we must lose friends because we are doing the right thing, makube njalo. So I just want to, chairperson of the program, my veteran Comrade Snunki, to encourage Comrade Hope and his team to continue representing and doing the great work to reviving and rebuilding the African National Congress in Gauteng. Amanda! Thank you very much. Ngiyabonga.